Skynet, iRobot, Independence Day, War of the Worlds, whichever one of these movies or concepts you want to think about is going to be kind of what we're talking about today. And obviously, I'm making kind of light of a kind of troubling situation. And of course, we're talking about the SAG-AFTRA strike that is now hitting the video game industry. We had a strike last year or 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, that hit the film and movie industry, as well as it affected some video games, but this specifically is for the video game industry. And unfortunately, it does mean we may see some delays. It may mean some people leaving the industry because it's too volatile, as we already know, everything like that. So in today's video, we're going to kind of go over the strike, why it happened, what it means, what the implications can be, and then also we're going to talk about AI and how AI is affecting video games. This has been a conversation for a few years. It's hitting every industry, not just video games, but we want to talk about specifically how it's affecting video games. So if you're new to the channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button, leaving a like on this video, and let's get right into it. So right here, as you can see, we're looking at backstage. This is all about, for casting, people trying to get jobs, find talent, things like that, casting calls. But this does a nice job of breaking it down into sections. So it has what's the strike about, what does it mean for the members, what does it mean for non-union actors, everything like that. So this says, what is the video game strike about? So discussions regarding the interactive media, meaning video game agreement, commenced October 2022. So this isn't a new thing. This started almost 2 years ago now at this point. Like we're in July, almost in August. So this is, this has been brewing for a while. So nearly a year later, in September 2023, members voted to authorize a strike should it be necessary. So if you're part of the SAG-AFTRA, you guys have to vote on everything, and they said, hey, are we going to be okay to do a strike if it needs to, if we can't come to a agreement with the company, with the video game industry, are we good to do a strike? And they voted for it. I believe the vote was like over 98% of people agreed to it. So that day has come. So the strike is effective as of midnight or 12:01, July 26th. So the day I'm recording this, last night. So now we talk about video game voice and motion capture performers want AI protection. So this is kind of what I was talking about. The main concern is AI and how are they going to be protected. When we talk about the movie industry, TV industry, I know Black Widow was a big thing. Like there's a lot of changes as far as the industry from COVID, from just the world changing and everything like that. They're using people's likeness and just making AI extras in the movies and stuff instead of paying people, obviously, to save money. They're, the streaming rules and things like that. So actors aren't getting paid residuals like they used to when movies come in. There's a lot of changes. So that, of course, is hitting video games as well. And a lot of voice actors in video games are also people that, are in movies and things like that. So they're all kind of in the same industry. So it says, while SAG's negotiating committee and the game industry's bargaining group were able to come to agreements on most issues, generative AI remained a sticking point. Currently, there are no contractual provisions disallowing game companies from training AI to reproduce an actor's voice or likeness without obtaining consent or providing fair compensation. So see, man. So we know about AI kind of being used in video games as far as, generating, let's say, grass or, maybe options for NPCs and things like that, as far as what they say, what they look like. Some of the characters kind of repeat, and, you want to make it easier instead of dedicating so much time to those things. And, one of the major concerns with the video game industry right now, as we know, is just games taking too long to make, costing too much to make, trying to get talent, trying to retain talent, everything like that. So of course AI can help with that, right? Like instead of hiring a million people to just do art in these open worlds or like all these different dialogue options and things like that, like some of these things are using AI as we speak right now. Like it's not new. But now when you talk about using the likeness of somebody, especially where AI doesn't really conjure up anything from scratch, right? Like AI is basically glorified Google. Like it'll grab things that exist, it'll search the internet for it, and then come up with an idea that you program it or tell it to do. So if you say, hey, draw me a basketball player out eating lunch or something. It'll probably search, see what most basketball players look like, get a general idea of it, sit them at a restaurant, eating a sandwich or something. But all of that comes from some type of, previous person. So now when you're talking about voice actors, it's going to recreate what someone sounded like. That's kind of where it comes from, right? So that is problematic. Going back to the article, though, it says here, we're not going to consent to a contract that allows companies to abuse AI to the detriment of our members, said President Fran. Oh, wow. Fran Drescher is the president of SAG. Wow. Didn't know that. So shout out to the nanny one time. Enough is enough. When these companies get serious about offering an agreement our members can live and work with, we will be here ready to negotiate. And then going into how it's affecting voiceovers, it says, video game performers deserve and demand the same fundamental protections as performers in film, television, streaming, and music, fair compensation, and the right of informed consent for the AI use of their faces, voices, and bodies. So that seems to be another point of contention, is the fact that not only are they using or potentially using your voice or your likeness and stuff like that, they're not even letting you know they're doing it. They're just going ahead, hey, we own this. It was in our game, which we own. And, that's where technology and the law and all this kind of stuff is like, the law hasn't caught up with technology. Technology is just moving so fast. It's hard to keep up with stuff like that. But it's like, okay, technically I own it, but you had to pay someone to use their voice. But since it's in a product you own, do you own their voice as well? Like, it gets very tricky very quickly. So I want to talk about what companies this affects too. So it says Activision's on the list, Blind Light, Disney character voices, EA, that's a big one, Formosa Interactive, Insomniac, of course, Llama Productions, Take-Two, VoiceWorks, and WB Games. So there's a lot of big players here. And speaking of Take-Two, so this is why I also don't jump into making a video so quickly, because news comes out and then it changes. So at first we heard that GTA 5 or GTA 6 was going to be, very impacted by this whole strike, but now we have a spokesperson for the publishers of GTA, so Take-Two, and it says, I can confirm GTA 6 is exempt, and it says that's backed up by a search result and a SAG-AFTRA database of struck projects, which shows members are still allowed to work on the upcoming open world shooter during the strike. According to spokesperson Audrey Cooling, any game already in development before September 2023 is also exempt. So this is good news too. So obviously, I get business, I understand companies and why they do certain things, but it's like, you still want, like, we're considered, not me because I'm not in the video game industry, but it's like we are considered the little people, right? The workers and things like that. So I want people to get their money, not get jerked around, everything like that. But I'll be honest, as a selfish consumer, my main, like, alarm bells was going off in my brain, was thinking like, man, all those great games we know that are in the pipeline. I automatically started thinking about the Xbox showcase we just saw, or like the Nintendo Switch 2 that's coming out next year, and like what games are coming out for them. Like, man, we finally are going to get some really great games for this generation. Not that we haven't got any, but like it was really going to come. And I was like, man, this strike's going to push everything back. We're talking about delays and everything. We've seen that with TV, like Stranger Things season 5 is not coming out till next year, and season 4 was in 2022. These kids are 23 years old now. Like, so that's good to know. So I mean, at least that's the bright spot of this whole thing, is that it won't really affect any game that started development back in September 2023. Now, that doesn't mean it won't affect the games that we don't know about that are in development and that are brand new and just started development. Those seem to be affected by this still. So now when we look at what does this mean that the members of SAG-AFTRA can't do, it says they can't act, voice act, sing, dance, perform stunts, background and stand-in work, rehearsals. They can't even do rehearsals. That's craziness. They can't do auditions, including self-tapes. Like, they can't authorize the use of their voice or likeness. So that means if someone wanted to use their voice, even if it's pre-recorded and they want to do a new project, they can't do that. That's Man, that's crazy. Now, I just kind of want to talk about again, and I've sprinkled it throughout the video, but just talking about how AI is kind of affecting everything. Like I mentioned earlier, games are using AI, companies are using AI because just development cost is too high. Paying, workers or adding a bunch of positions to do stuff that shouldn't really take that long at the same time because the games are more complex, you got to add them. And I understand the whole like, oh, we don't want to cut jobs and things like that, but it's like, it's a balancing act. The same way we don't want games to take forever, and we don't want crunch, and we don't want all these things. It's like, okay, so if they're trying to figure out a way to do it and they say AI, then, that's what it is. But I do agree there needs to be a balance, like they said in these contracts. It's like, okay, you could use AI, but what are you using it for? Are you using it for just getting rid of voice actors as a whole? We don't want that. You're getting rid of jobs, as well as like taking away that you're taking away that personality, that parts of the games. Like we may see, maybe not the casual person, but if you've seen, oh, Willem Dafoe's gonna be in this new game, you might be like, oh, what character is he doing? Like it's part of the game, storylines, certain NPC characters, things like that. Like those things are important, and I think like there just needs to be a fine line and or a line drawn in the sand of saying like this is what the AI is being used for, this what it's not. If they're okay with that, they're okay. Pay the people. Don't be using their voices and things like that. Like, if you want to do you're making a forest and you're going to replicate a bunch of trees and grass, sure, go ahead. If you want to add a couple NPC characters that you don't want to pay for 800 different, side quests and stuff like that, sure. But there needs to be, a clear indication of what that means for the video game industry moving forward. And to be honest, I think the powers that be need to figure out something fast. We keep saying all these issues going on in the industry. We want the industry to stay lively. We want people to come in, new talent to come in, as well as retaining talent, so that the industry that we all love and enjoy and spend our money on, and some of it formed the best moments of our lives and things like that, and our personalities that we are today. Like we need to, we need to do something about it. We can't just let it just die and just worry about making people rich and things like that. But those are all my thoughts on the strike, AI, and video games, everything like that. So y'all let me know, is this a cause for concern? Are we heading towards this, bleak 1984 future that everybody thinks we are? Y'all let me know. Please make sure you do subscribe if you have not already. Leave a like on this video if you liked it. Leave a comment too, of course. I like to join in discussion. I pretty much reply to all comments. So make sure y'all do that, and I will catch you on the next video.